Hey, Shalom, Shalom. First off, I'd like to say, Call Halal, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders of Great Millstone who taught me the truth. Also would like to say peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect, the Akim, that's pushing his word in all sincerity and faith throughout the four corners of the earth. For the Akwat, the few sisters who watch and believe, Shalom to you as well. Shalom to the new fruit, the new believers, the new viewers coming into this thing. Just back with another lesson. And the failure of modern Christianity would have you believe that you got to go to church to be saved. And then in their point of reference, the church is actually a physical building, where people congregate and, you serve the Lord that way. All right. Which if you got a building to go into, to assemble, to, study, read the Bible, basically have a worship service. That's nothing particularly wrong in doing that. But the point that we always like to make is that we represent the temple. First and foremost, you got to be an Israelite. Okay. And then furthermore, you got to be of the elect, okay, of the nation of Israel. That's the Most High's temple dealing with his people. Primarily the men, that were called into the lot of being the prophets and the teachers. Because even that word church, when you go into the word church, I think it's ecclesia, it goes into calling. Okay. So only the true men, the true prophets and teachers, they were given that calling from the Most High and were sent forth. Because even our apostles of Great Millstone told us that we really all apostles, because the word apostle just means to be sent forth. All right. Once we heard that calling, we were sent forth to go and preach this word. But the main point in the lesson is that the church, it represents the body of believers. Okay, that's the temple. All right, but I'll just read some scriptures, Lord willing, this to edify. Because somebody asked me if I went to church. And yeah, they didn't really like my answer. I didn't go into details about what I do and all of that, but I just was like, I don't attend church. But this is in Acts chapter 7, verse 48. It says, howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as said the prophet. Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. What house will ye build me, saith the Lord? Or what is the place of my rest? Hath not my hand made all these things? So that's clear to the cut right there. The temple of the Most High is not made with hands. It represents his people. Okay. We're the body of believers. All right. That's why it's important that we watch what we consume, what we say. Okay. The things that we allow into our temples, because our bodies represent the temple. Okay. That's why brothers, we keep the dietary laws in Leviticus. We don't eat, any manner of abominable foods. Okay. Brothers don't be smoking and things like that. Just anything that defiles your body. Because the body is nothing but an abode or a home or a dwelling for your spirit. All right. So that represents the temple, the body. Okay. And furthermore, to prove that, I'll read this right quick. This is Romans chapter 12, verse 1. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. So we're supposed to present our bodies as a living sacrifice. Okay? Because our bodies represent the temple, okay, that the Spirit of the Most High dwells in. Okay. So the church, or the actual building, the Lord ain't just dealing with these buildings, these glamorous and elaborate church buildings, man. The Lord is not dealing with these things, man. All right. He's dealing with the body of believers coming together, calling on the true names of Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, and his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. All right. That represents the tabernacle, the temple, the church. Okay. The body of believers. Matter of fact, I'm in Matthew St. Matthew, the 18th chapter. And this is the 20th verse, right to the point. It says, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. All right. So where 2 or 3 are gathered in the names of Yahweh, why Yahweh Shah, the Heavenly Father, you know, only in the name of his only begotten Son, dwell in the midst. Okay. So the body of believers, that represents the temple, that represents the church. Okay. So even when brothers get together, we go from house to house. We're all assembled together, calling on the names, going through the scriptures and the precepts. All right. That's church service going on. Even like when we go out on the highways and the byways to preach the word, that's the church. All right. That's the temple, because the church is not a particular building or location. It's just wherever the body of believers are assembled together, man, that represents the church or the temple of the Most High. And these so-called Christians, they'll never get that, man. This sounds like blasphemy in their eyes, okay, in their spirit, in their delusion. But just going to another precept. You already read that one. Y'all get this right here. This is 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. It says, ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. And I know it says God by Jesus Christ, but we know that the true name of the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father is not Jesus Christ, it's Yahweh Shah. All right, we always just got to put those names out there, okay, for edification's sake. But it says, I'll read it again, 1 Peter 2 and 5. It says, yea, ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So the body of Israelites, okay, that represents the temple of the Lord, okay? That's the spiritual house of the Lord, because we, the believers, the Israelites, okay, the men of faith who believe in the true names of Yahweh, why Yahweh Shah, we're those lively stones that are being built up into a spiritual house through the Spirit, man. And that's why the likes of Vocab Malone is losing their damn mind, man. Okay? Because we're a moving church of sorts. Because over the years, our apostles, bishops, you know, they've had to switch locations. You know, I know for years, the apostles and bishops, they were out there in New York, in Manhattan, off of like, 34th and 7th, for years. But then just over time, that location switched up, okay? So that shows that the Lord is just dealing with the assembly of his men being the church and the foundation of the church, not an actual physical location or a building, man. All right? Because even when we talk about Israel and Jerusalem, when those terms are being spoken of in the Holy Scriptures, a lot of times, most times, it's just talking about the people, okay? When you talk about Jerusalem, which the word Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, it just means teaching of peace, okay? That represents the Lord's people, the Israelites. In fact, I'll read this. This is 2 Maccabees chapter 5, verse 19. It says, nevertheless, the Most High did not choose the people for the place's sake, but the place for the people's sake. All right, so meaning everywhere the Israelites go, that's considered Jerusalem. That's considered the temple of the Most High. That's considered the church. All right, that's where the Spirit of the Most High dwells among his people. All right, and right now, in the time that we in right now, you know, he's only dealing with his elect, the elect of the nation of Israel. That represents the temple. Okay, with Yahweh Shai, you know, he's what's the word? He's the what's that stone? He's the head stone or the centerpiece at the foundation of the temple. Okay, Yahweh Shai is our foundation. But the point of the lesson is, you know, the church, it represents the people. You know, I quoted, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst, okay? So with all being said, this is just a quick lesson. Lord willing, it's edified, because these damn Christians, man, they losing their damn mind. They're losing steam. They're losing hope. You know, it's just been one big ball of failure, okay? So with all being said, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, peace and blessings to the elect.